So Donald Trump and this bevy of MAGA Republicans are very comfortable lying to the public left and right. We all know that. But there are some lies that you just can't really get away with.
For people that don't have 401ks or are not invested in the stock market,
but
they've seen their grocery prices go up, inflation.
No, you're wrong. They went up under Biden. Right now, they're going down.
I mean, Trump has shown a remarkable ability over the years to convince large swaths of the American public of all sorts of things that aren't true. But there are topics where Trump's lies just aren't sticking.
A new poll finds about 70% of Americans say groceries are more expensive now than they were a year ago. And about 60% of them are blaming President Trump.
There you go. That was on Fox News. I mean, no matter how much Trump tries, his spin is no match for reality when it starts to hit Americans at home. People can tell if their groceries are getting more expensive. And I think that's an important thing to remember as we think about what we saw in elections all across the country last night. Now, don't get me wrong. There are millions of reasons. We've been talking about them throughout the course of the show, why Democrats won so many races last night. But there is one reason Trump is blaming for why Democrats did so well and why Republicans did so poorly.
I thought we'd have a discussion after the press leaves about what last night represented and what we should do about it, and also about the shutdown and how that relates to last night. I think if you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans.
Don't you love that he's announcing what the private conversation is going to be? There's that. I mean, that was Trump speaking to Republican senators this morning. And he's right. Poll after poll has shown that the American public blame Republicans for the government shutdown. And I think that is because the shutdown is not some big abstract political thing happening in D.C. It is impacting Americans' lives in real, tangible ways that Republicans can't spin their way out of. I mean, yesterday, despite court orders from two different federal judges requiring the Trump administration to fund SNAP, the food stamp program nearly 42 million Americans rely on, Trump claimed he would refuse to release any funding until Democrats caved and ended the shutdown. Now, the White House has since walked back that claim, but food is still not on Americans' tables. Despite the Trump administration saying that they will partially fund SNAP benefits this month, millions of Americans still may not actually see that aid anytime soon, because the guidance that Trump's USDA has given states for distributing those partial benefits is filled with red tape. That could mean it will take weeks before anyone can actually access those funds. And not, just like the Trump administration's decision to not fund SNAP in the first place, none of that is necessary. I mean, the Trump administration is choosing to make this as painful as possible. Even once that partial funding is eventually distributed, the Trump administration is actively choosing, even though they don't have to make it just 50% of what SNAP recipients are entitled to. That means the average SNAP allowance right now is just $187 per person a month. The Trump administration is choosing to make that just $93.50. Can you imagine trying to buy a month's worth of groceries with just $93? That's the reality the Trump administration is forcing upon millions of Americans right now. And that is a reality that no amount of lies can spin. President Trump is not lying about one thing, though, that this shutdown is hurting the Republican Party's popularity. That's true. So now the question is, how can Democrats use the clear message from last night's win to get Republicans to end this shutdown? Joining me now is Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. What a big blowout last night. I want to talk to you about that. But what's also happening right now is the government remains shut down, which is having a huge impact on Americans across the country. And the Washington Post is reporting that there is a group of about a dozen, what they're describing as moderate Senate Democrats, considering striking a bipartisan deal to end the shutdown and fund the government if Republicans pledge to put the ACA subsidies up for a vote. I'm guessing, because I've been watching what you've been saying and watching what you've been saying online, that you don't think that's the right strategy. But tell me why.
Well, I mean, first of all, it was great to see Governor-elect Cheryl and you talking about, what a big win she had last night. This was a night where, clearly it was a referendum on Trump's corruption and chaos. But I also do think that this was an endorsement of the Democratic Party, which has been for the first time this year really showing some fight, standing up for our values and saying, listen, we're not going to sign on to a corrupt, immoral budget. People don't want the shutdown to continue any longer than is necessary, but they know who's causing it. Increasingly, people say, listen, this is Donald Trump's shutdown. All he has to do is sit down and negotiate with Democrats for a couple hours, and the shutdown could be over. Because what are we asking for? It's not unreasonable. It's not earth-shattering. We're just saying, don't raise premiums on 22 million Americans by 25, 75, 150% this fall. That's what we're asking for, to get the government back open and operating, and the president could cut that deal in a matter of minutes. So yes, I think it would be very strange after the country just came out and rewarded Democrats for finally standing up and fighting for our values, to then give in to Donald Trump and cease fighting. Donald Trump said this morning he doesn't want the shutdown to continue. And so it's probably just a matter of time before he's in a discussion with Democrats about how to end the shutdown and protect people in this country from these massive health care increases. Maybe that's overly optimistic, but we should at least, wait a few days to find out how he's going to react to this thumping Republicans took last night.
Yeah, I mean, it's the moral thing to do, the right thing. I think I first met you when you were running on healthcare. You've been fighting on this issue for 2 decades, longer than that. It's the morally right thing, but it's also politically the right thing. If you're Trump, it's politically the right thing to make sure costs don't go up on healthcare. Do you think after the thumping last night, I love that term, and it was a clear referendum on Trump, a clear referendum in support of what the Democrats are standing for, do you think any Democrats' spines have stiffened who may have been a part of this group who were kind of contemplating folding on this?
I mean, we've obviously been in close discussions all day today. The folks who are in that room talking to Republicans, in discussions with people like me who believe that, we should continue this fight to protect people's health care. And, hopefully there, will be some fruit from those discussions in the coming days. But you are right to point out the moral consequences of reopening a government with premiums doubling for Americans. The estimates are that about 4 million Americans would lose their health care insurance. I spoke to a woman in South Florida just earlier this week, where the horror will be the worst, who is going to lose her insurance and is going to have to decide whether she or her husband gets health care. They both have very complicated illnesses. They are deciding which one of them is going to survive to be able to take care of their 4 kids. So shutdowns are very hard. They involve lots of pain. But if we reopen the government and 4 million Americans lose their health care insurance, there is enormous moral cost to that. There is pain as well. Republicans have put us in the situation where we have to choose between a shutdown where people don't get food and reopening the government in which people lose their health care. That's a false choice. But the voters told us on Tuesday night that they want us to keep this fight up on behalf of their health care. And I think that we should keep this fight going to at least see if Donald Trump is willing to come to the negotiating table.
And the Trump administration could choose to fund SNAP benefits. They have funding to do that for some period of time. They've obviously not done that fully.